Hello and welcome back. Today we are at Fullwell Recording with Mike Bolenbach
Hey.
and Colby.
Yeah.
So I haven't been here in quite some time, but I remember when I first contacted you, like Jalapaz, you were like one of the first people I reached out to. And one of the first things that I thought was really cool was I asked if I could come down and check out the place. And with like the same excitement that I had in wanting to see the place, you were like, hell yeah. And I was like, that's amazing, because most people back then like just ignored me, which I understand. I understand why. I was just like some kid like asking to like come, check out the studios. But the fact that you were like, oh yeah, dude, like come on down. It was just like, oh, awesome. I was like, that's so cool. And I came down and we hung out for a bit, and that was really awesome. I remember you had just gotten, we'll take a look at it later, you just gotten that like the Leslie, the big ass.
Oh, the 950, yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like it was cool because like we hung out and like I think we like ran to like Ace Hardware. We were like trying to fix stuff, and it was like a hang. It was like a cool. It was a really cool hang. But yeah, I don't know. It was really awesome. But anyways, since then that was like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
But since then the place has changed a little bit. It's been pretty cool. Colby's new.
Yeah, I showed up.
Colby's been here for 6 years now.
Yeah, so just after that meeting,
you
kind of came in, and you're like. He's assistant engineer?
He's the A1.
A1? So you're just producer role now?
Yeah, I pretty much sit back and yell a lot. No,
awesome.
Not really. No, he handles all the Pro Tools stuff that I need done, and he engineers and produces his own sessions here too now.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And you guys primarily, I don't want to typecast anyone, but you guys do a lot of rock and roll,
yes.
right?
Yes, mainly live instrument stuff of all kinds. Like we'll do, rock, jazz, funk, country. Metal, live instrument stuff. We really don't do that much hip hop. We will do it if somebody needs it, but it's kind of overkill for hip hop.
Yeah. Possibly, yeah. Possibly not.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I remember that was another thing that really kind of like gravitated me toward wanting to contact you too, because I've listened to the work that had been coming out of here, and as a rock guy myself, I was like, oh, this sounds, it's like right up my alley. It was really, really analog heavy. I could hear like the natural element of things, Because, at the time, I forget who else I was looking, but there were a lot of, like, smaller studios that were opening up that were very kind of, like, you could tell it was, like, very digitally helped.
Yes.
And this stuck out right away because I was like, this sounds like real rock and roll, which is why I got into recording to begin with.
Me too. I want to record tracks. I don't want to play with tracks in the computer, no fake drums. If the session calls for it, I might sound replace something if it calls for it, but generally the drums 99% of the time are just the organic drums that we recorded rather than messing with stuff in the computer.
And then another question I wanted to ask I didn't ask before was, where did the name Fullwell Recording come from?
It was a freak of nature thing. I was trying to start a record company at the time, and you submit your record company name over and over again, so you come up with one that's unique. And I was on like my third submission of 3 names at the time, and my girlfriend at the time goes, "You should call it Fullwell, because it connotates like a positive thing, and full well what you're doing, and it's like a well overflowing with, And I said, "Oh, that's pretty good." So I submitted that, and they accepted it. So I had Fullwell Records before I even moved in here, and then when I moved in here, since Fullwell Records was up and running, I just called it Fullwell Recording Studio.
How long have you been here?
I've been here for 21 years.
Oh, wow. So that's when you built this? When this place was built?
Yeah.
And you were going over that a little bit with me. You were telling me like because we're in like what is a garage type building?
It's a big barn.
Yeah. And you're in the backyard of your place.
Yeah.
And we're kind of like floated. I'm sure you can tell I'm pretty much awkwardly touching the ceiling.
Yeah, and it's a 10-foot ceiling, but from the ground. So we have 4 feet of, or 3.5 feet of.
Yeah, you were telling me it's like intense because I was like, there's a lot of weight up here. Like, how did you build this? How was it all supported?
It was a big garage when I bought the place. It's 1,000 square feet. Mm-hmm. So I built the sidewalls in, and then I built the platform that is a control room floor up next, and then I brought the console in through what was the existing garage door, which would have been this whole back wall.
Before it was closed up, obviously, yeah.
And put the console in here, and then I built the rest of the walls up around it. And when I originally built the room, I didn't think it was going to be this short, but by the time I got the floor to where it wasn't bouncy, I had put about that much floorboard on there, and it kind of like, oh, I guess it's a little shorter than I had anticipated.
I can fit. It's all good.
Yeah, I have a couple clients that come in like this. Yeah.
It's about the vibe. It's about the sound, and it's all good.
That's true.
You were letting me know because I hadn't had the pleasure of meeting you before.
Yeah.
So today was cool to meet you. And
Absolutely.
you were also, did you also go to MCC?
No, I went to Phoenix College, but really, I mean, I learned everything right under the bus.
Yeah, like, well, that's how it goes. I mean, like, I think most people that do this would say that, you go, you get the formal education, but then when you get thrown into the real world, that's when you really learn kind of everything you need to know.
Right. It's not so rudiment in the real world. I mean, you can put things where they belong, but really, it sounds cooler when it's broken and not normal. Abstraction is cooler.
Uniqueness is cool.
Yeah.
Just the randomness of things is cool. I really dig that.
Yeah, he was 17 and when I brought him in here, but I've known him since he was 11 years old.
So do you know?
He lives in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was pushing amps up the street.
Yeah, I'd see him pushing
the street.
Pushing an amp on a skateboard up the street, and I'm like, hey, what's up, man?
Really cool. And now you're working here all the time.
I walked in like.
You're here 7 days a week?
Yeah, about 2 times a day, even sometimes.
Yeah. Wow, you guys are rocking. Yeah, that's for sure.
Absolutely. It's all right.
It's all right.
It's all right.
Hell yeah. So 21 years, man. You had to have told me that before. But yeah, that's amazing.
Well, when you were here the last time, or when you were here before, it was only
obviously,
15 years.
21 minus 7.
Yeah.
So we can do math, but we won't do it here.
Right.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, honestly, there is a ton of gear here, and I want to jump kind of into that.
Cool.
Because I know that that's where we're going to be rambling on quite a bit.
I love it.
So I want to start with this console that I was joking with you before. That I'm pretty sure you own all of them.
Yeah.
Because it is a really rare tangent console, which I didn't even know what tangent consoles were before I came here and saw one. But this is from where again?
This was the one that was installed at Scottsdale Center for the Performing Arts back in the 70s. And when they decided to go digital, I got it from at an auction.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and it has some special stuff that was specially designed for the theater quad.
Mm-hmm.
It's all set up for quad recording and mixing.
Do you ever do anything
No. I spent a lot of time wiring it up to use it one time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you mix through it at all, or is it just...
Well, I used to mix through it back in the tape, back when I was up before Pro Tools.
Mm-hmm.
But now I just record through it on the way in. Mm-hmm. And we could mix through it, but keeping it in the box is kind of okay.
Well, with as busy as you guys are, I imagine it's just the smarter way to go too.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, they'd be eaten up with the mix or something.
And I actually get the sound of it into Pro Tools because I track through it.
Right. Yeah, you were saying it's like your favorite thing to do for drums.
Yes, it is bomb on the drums. It has that API-ish sort of smack, and
yeah,
I really love it.
No, totally. Yeah, I absolutely feel that. I think having a console is a lot of fun for that reason. I mean, I don't have one quite so cool, but it's definitely like just it's a great way to just have a bunch of mic pre's and EQs at once. It was like the cheapest way to go to get that.
Yep.
And just
and it's nice to have the same thing for stuff like toms. I want the toms to all sound consonant, so it's nice to have the channels of the same thing for stuff that's supposed to be similar.
For sure. Yeah, conformity amongst especially with drums. I mean, I don't know what your perspective is on recording drums. Like I like to perceive drums as one thing.
Yes.
Like I don't know if either of you have a different view, but I've always thought of drums as one thing. I don't really like to do the whole like kick, snare, tom, cymbal thing. Like it's fine to like mic all those things and use them as sources, but at the end of the day, I still want it to sound like one cohesive thing.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that definitely helps.
Yes.
And then you've got, we'll kind of jump into monitors, which is usually what we do last, but I do want to talk about the monitors.
Okay.
So what do you prefer? Because you've got a few options.
Well, I mainly mix on these Mackie HR824s and these NS10s. That's my back and forth go-to stuff, and I have a set of monitor ones up here that I check to see if it sounds good on cheap speakers, and I have a set of Oratone SC5s here that you if you want to hear what it's going to sound like over your iPad or your computer speakers,
right,
and stuff like that. That's a great check for that. Then there's a big set of Altecs down here on the bottom.
Oh, those are actually wired up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Those are big Altec iconic Valencias, and they sound great. It's a 15-inch Altec with a 1-inch throat driver.
Oh wow, yeah.
And they sound fantastic, and that's great for playback. I wouldn't necessarily mix on them.
Right.
But you want to hear what it sounds like on some big speakers? I can pop that in and jolt it into.
Nice. I can never figure out the NS10 thing. That I feel like I'm just the wrong generation.
Well, here I'll tell you about the NS10 thing. The NS10 thing is the curve of the NS10 it matches the Fletcher Munson curve that your ear hears. So that's the thing behind it. And I believe from reading a bunch of stuff, that was a total accident in the design thing, but it just happened to work out that way, that it was almost identical to the Fletcher Munson curve.
Interesting.
So I don't like to mix bass on them, but I love to.
Right.
I love to set the vocals in the pocket on them.
Yeah.
You know, because they have a sort of a mid-range
Right.
thing to
Yeah,
them.
and like whenever I flip to them, that's kind of like what I mean, I just refer to them as the snare check speaker.
Yeah,
because it's
snare,
like, where does your
vocal.
snare sit? Where does the vocal sit?
Yeah.
How about you? Which ones do you kind of prefer?
I actually love swapping between the two. Low end on the 824s is great, but the 10s, every time I pop to them, you can tell, oh, the vocals need a little bit more love, the snare's a little too poppy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But other than that, those are the go-tos, really. And then, yeah, that's
Awesome.
about it.
All right, we'll kind of flow this way.
Cool.
You were talking about just picking up, of course, the famous
LA2A, yeah.
Have you been loving that? Of course.
I have been loving that. It's got a nice squishy bunch of love that I really, really like. You know, and it's great on some things, not great on other things, but generally it sounds really good.
And then I don't. Oh, this is another Amec. Oh,
Yeah.
the Rupert Neve stuff.
Yeah, the Amec Neve 9098s, and
Cool,
we have
cool.
3 of them.
Awesome. Yeah, I
There's-
think I've seen them scattered about.
Yeah.
Those are pretty interesting. I've thought about picking up a couple of those.
That is a great pre-bang for the buck. That is, and the EQ on it is bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do surgical carving if you need to, and really precise, and it sounds really great, warm, you know, heavy, just real nice round sound.
Interesting. Of course, Focusrite distressors. Those are pretty common
Yeah.
things. Let's keep moving here. You were telling me about this.
Yeah,
custom thing.
it's a clone, yeah,
Custom thing.
clone dual 1176.
How do you like these? The
I love
LA4s?
those. I love those. You know, the LA4s, they don't have an adjustable attack and release, but
Right.
but where they're set is really useful on guitar, on vocal, on stuff like mandolins, that sort of thing. It really sounds great.
I keep on going back and forth on wanting to pick up a pair because, like, LA3As right now are absurdly expensive.
Yeah.
And I know that they're not similar, but I've always wondered if the LA4s were still kind of cool.
They are.
in some
It
way.
really, that's a really great sounding compressor. Really,
Yeah.
and you can pretty much stick it on, adjust the threshold, and it sounds good. You know, it trims the peaks and stuff like that.
What are these two kind of hiding channels here?
Those are just some Amec matchlesses. That was my old talkback system.
Oh, okay.
You know,
So wait, what are you? You're just not using it at all at the moment, or?
man, it's just sitting there right now.
Oh, cool. Well,
Yeah.
hey, why not? Chorus Echo.
Yeah, roll.
Nice.
Yeah, Echoplex EP2.
Oh, up here?
Uh-huh.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Last time I got to use one of these, I was doing it for guitar. I don't know, what do you find?
I
is
use this
useful?
all the time on vocals, on guitars, mainly on the vocal, and it is the secret sauce.
Yeah.
You know, and I play it like an instrument. You know, I'll actually ride the intensity knob so I can make the echo fit the song, and
Right.
every time I do it, it's a performance.
Yeah.
You know, I'll do it to its own track, and we'll be like, okay, I like that. You know, I'll ride the words that hang over the long breaks and stuff like that.
They're fun to play with. Like,
Yeah.
Jim has a couple over at Insuna, and that's
Yeah.
the last time I've ever. Well, it's really the only time I get to use them
Yeah.
because he's the only one I know that's got them, other than you.
Yeah. But most of the good stuff's over there.
Well,
You know,
let's
you're
head over.
on to IOs and
we
stuff.
were on IOs. and
Boring
stuff.
IO stuff.
So what we got? Well, we'll start here with the tape machine
Oh, yeah.
because this actually has a link between us.
Yes.
Jim, who I just mentioned over at Insuna, offered this to me, but it was way before. I mean, he offered it for like a steal of a price. I remember
Yeah.
it was like he was practically giving it away.
Yep.
But still, even then at the time, it was like all the money I had.
Yeah.
And it made no sense for me to buy one at the time. So I told you about it, and I was
Yep.
very happy to see that you picked it up.
Yeah, I got that from Jim. It was in good condition. It needed some to be gone over, so I sent it over to Analog Domain, Andy Barrett, and he went through the thing with a fine-tooth comb and recapped what needed to be done and relapped the heads and calibrated it all for mastering. And it runs great. It sounds so good.
Do you primarily just use it for mixdown, or what?
I use it for mixdown. I use it a lot of times on stuff where like the singer wants to have an analog tape sound on the vocal. So I have a sync IO and I'll lock it to Pro Tools and we'll track the vocal to it, and then I'll bounce it into Pro Tools. Also, I use it for vocal distortion too.
Oh, so it's like a big harmonic plug-in.
Yes, yeah, it's like having that tape plug-in,
Yeah.
but I actually use the real tape.
the real thing.
So like on Deirdre's new record, she wanted this really cool vocal distortion. She's showing it to us, and I'm like, well, you know, we were trying plugins before. I was
Right.
trying some distortion plugins. We're like,
Right.
that's just not right. It's just not right. And Colby gets on the phone. He's like, what did this, you know, the song she was using as an example, what did they use? Oh, they overdrove the tape machine. We just plugged into the tape machine. I had her sing. I just drove it into the red while I printed it to tape, you know, and it was the saturating of the tape that made the sound.
Right.
You know.
Right, and these machines, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of experience with the Sony or the MCI stuff, but I do a lot of people tell me that they do, because I only am familiar with Ataris, which
Uh-huh.
are very, very clean, very hi-fi,
Yeah.
pretty hard to get to break up, if even at all. But I hear that these break up kind of on their own naturally.
They
because,
do, and I like the 456. You know, RMG 911 if you have to buy the the tape now, but better than the 499. I can get the 456 or the 911 to break up. That formulation of tape to break up way easier than I can get that high bias 499 to break up.
Interesting. Yeah, that's fun. I don't really get to play a whole lot with it because, like, once again, the Ataris.
Well, come over. We'll play with it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What else we got here?
We got all kinds of stuff. This is the Awesomizer 3000.
Yeah. What is that?
That's the Awesomizer. Whatever you run through, it becomes just a tad bit more awesome. No, it's a spring reverb, but
okay.
It's like got this really cool, really nasty, cool thing, and I'll use it every once in a while.
Is this like meant for hi-fi?
Yeah, it's meant for a stereo, but it has a thing that we just like. Yeah. Oh, put the Awesomizer on it
Why
on
not?
one word or on one snare hit. You know, we're gonna have one break where the snare goes pow, and we go.
I personally love spring reverbs. I mean, and my former bandmate really hated it because I would love spring reverb on vocals, added it on guitars furthermore, and stuff. And just I don't know, I just think it has a cool, because it's reverb with character. I'm not a big fan of reverb, but like reverb with character I think is cool. But he always hated me for putting spring reverb. He's like, "What is that spring bullshit?"
Oh, but if you do it right, if you just a taste of it, it doesn't need a whole bunch. Just a taste. It's awesome.
Well, I think it's because it's another faux. To me, it's like another faux distortion sound.
Yeah.
So it's like that's why I like it.
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
And then I've got a phase correlation meter here.
Oh yeah. So you're still checking that old school way?
Oh yeah.
Doing it?
I love to do it in real time. I have it's hooked to a send on Pro Tools.
Okay.
So anytime I want to use it, I just send whatever I'm trying to look at to that send and check it out and make sure everything's lining up real good. Because I do a lot of multiple miking of stuff downstairs.
Yeah, of course.
So rather than printing it and trying to zoom in and make sure my phase is good, I can just look right on this thing and
And that never works anyways. This is
way better.
Or just using your ears or doing this type of thing. Yeah, way better.
And an Eventide Ultra Harmonizer.
Of course.
We call that the Stupid Box 4000.
Get out of the way here.
Everything, reverbs, delays, pitch shifting. I love it for the pitch shifting more than anything else.
Yeah. That's the big one, of course.
And a set of Doro meters for when we're mastering and wanting to check levels.
Because that's what this kind of is like a mastering. Looks like the makings of a mastering.
Yeah, I kind of have the mastering rig a little spread out. I have the massive passive over here and the Veramu and the L2 over here.
Nice.
But and the Clariphonics up here.
Oh yeah, I had a buddy of mine was letting me borrow a Clariphonic for a long time, and he finally took it back. But I got really addicted to that.
Yeah, it has a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it on the mix. I don't know. I mean, obviously using it for mastering, so you're using it on the mix bus in a way.
Yeah.
But I loved it for that because it was like it's a very usable mix EQ. Because whenever I actually like just put a straight EQ on the mix bus, I always overdo it. I still always overdo it. But that thing was like, you can overdo it with that as well.
Oh, absolutely.
But,
absolutely.
But because it's in parallel and because it's like the harmonic content EQ, I thought it's a very beautiful box, and I miss it dearly now.
I really like it. And so we got a couple of Avalon 737s that I like on vocals and bass DIs. Yuri 1178, which is a dual 1176 linked together.
How similar are those? I mean, I hear mixed reviews on the similarity between the way that they react to 11. I'm just curious because I really want one as well.
It sounds great. The only thing that I wish they would have done is I wish they would have put 2 attack and release controls, so it would literally be 2 1176s. But as it is right now, there's one set of attack and release that runs on both channels.
So it's always fixed in stereo. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Well, you can actually unlink the compressors.
Oh, okay, but
but the attack and release is fixed between the 2 channels. Yes.
Interesting.
That's the drawback of it. Then a couple of RAD designed SSL 4000G channels.
Heard. Is that just like a
Rhodes
guy
Audio Design is a guy in Nashville, and I think Chuck Ainlay has something to do with the company as well. But they decommission SSL consoles and they make these rack units from the actual channels.
Yeah, because it looks mostly correct, but then I can tell that it wasn't like an actual SSL box. Yeah.
But I've opened it up.
But it's real parts.
I opened it up just to see, and you can see the circuit boards are actually from the SSL thing. They say SSL right on them. You can see where they chopped the mic pre section out of the circuit board and laid it in there, and
Nice.
And it sounds really great. I'm not a big fan of the SSL pre, I told you earlier, but I love the EQ and dynamics section. So I'll actually run that with a Vintech 1272 as the pre's in front of it.
Oh yeah. And I mean they're really fast. It's they're too percussive. They're too fast and they're a bit thin.
Yeah,
Like,
that's exactly how I feel.
But the EQ, wonderful. I've recently started messing with the gates and the compressors,
Yeah,
and they're also
the
really,
dynamics are bomb on it.
really awesome.
And then after that, we got the Manly Massive Passive, which is my mastering mastering compressor, sorry, which I love a lot. Gives you that tube, that boom,
Right.
thing that I love.
It's very definitely a staple in mastering.
And the Waves L2 hardware limiter, brick wall limiter for the mastering, last
Old
thing in my
school.
mastering chain. Yes, it sounds
Nice.
great. So I can make stuff as loud or not that I want.
Right.
And keep it from going over. A little Sony R7, which is a really cool digital reverb, has some cool go-to stuff that I like. And the Digidesign Sync IO and some room EQs down here.
Is that just for like the room monitoring?
Yeah, that's for
Awesome.
that flattens my room out. We've taken Smart Live and come in here with the microphone and tune the room, and
Hell yeah.
that was the curve that needed to happen to make the room flat.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
However you get there.
Well, it's a weird shape.
Right. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
here.
It is.
So
It is.
it's anomaly. It's like you watch that Sound City documentary where the guy's like,
Right.
well, this room shouldn't sound good.
Oh,
Like on
yeah,
paper,
yeah.
on paper, this room should sound awful.
It's a big box.
Right. They say that about Sound City, but the room sounds incredible. This is one of those places where it's like if you looked at it on paper, the acoustician would be like, well, you're never going to get anything to sound good in there, but I don't know. Here are the results, and you can tell me I don't know.
Yeah. No. I mean, I've heard the results. I mean, that's why that's why I contacted you 7
Right
years
on.
ago, and yeah.
And then I have a Amec Einstein sidecar here that we built. Robert Scoville, who's Tom Petty's sound engineer, was decommissioning one of his consoles, and I bought some channels off of him in the power supply and had Matt from Field Services build me that up, and it sounds great. So it's 8 more channels of Amec Einstein with EQ and stuff like that. Sounds fantastic. Then Avalon 2022, I use that on stuff that I want to be really clean.
Right.
It's very pristine and
The Avalon stuff is like, I've used the channels a lot, and a lot of
Yes.
people, like, there's mixed reviews on the channels.
Yes.
I really like them.
I really like them too.
Because on the right source, it's like glass.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and it has to be the right source. Like on electric guitars, this thing's awful.
Yeah.
You
No,
pull-
like
you
on
plug
anything you want, like,
Yeah,
You know,
like
it's not
I
gonna
like it on
work.
vocals. I like it on bass DI.
Yep.
I like it on acoustic guitar DI. If I had to do an acoustic guitar DI, but
Would work, yeah.
But if you plug it into electric guitar, it just you lose all the chin from the
Yeah,
front end, and it
it's-
just goes yum, yum. It sounds
Yeah.
awful, but application specific, it's awesome.
That
And-
was I was just going to say, like, that was something that I think made me love. I used to hate just plugging a bass into it, like something, and recording it that
Yeah.
way. But that was the first time I did it and loved it. Was I just bass into that directly to tape?
Yeah.
Like to tape machine.
Yeah.
And it was like the best bass DI sound I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
So yeah, definitely, yeah, huge on that thing now.
And then I got a couple more of these Neve Amec 9098s that I love. You know, and they sound great on everything, like literally everything. You know, I had Bob Ezrin in here, and he's like shooting out all the pre's, and we had a 1272, and this is what he ended up using for Alice Cooper's record. And then a Manly Massive Passive, that's our main mastering equalizer, and the Cush Clairphonics that we just talked about.
Yeah.
Love it. It's just kind of a mid and high, kind of a parallel boost equalizer. Really
No,
cool.
yeah, it was definitely something that I need to get now.
The new MS one's the bomb.
Yeah, well, they're twice as expensive, so I was a
Yes.
little bit bummed, but you know, cool. And then I almost bought one because they were like, they're not making that one anymore.
Right.
So they were like getting rid of them, and they went down in value. You know, they were like $900, just take one.
Yep.
And I was like, ah, man.
Right. That's when
But-
I picked this one up.
Yeah. So I should have.
But they didn't say it. They didn't talk about having the new MS one coming out. They were just blowing them out.
Right, of course.
And so the MS one lets you adjust the mid and side content
yeah.
independently, which that would be the bomb.
Yeah.
So,
Especially.
But
yeah.
$2,000.
Right.
So yes.
One day.
Yeah,
one day.
soon. So another 737, another distressor, which is that's the aggression compressor, which I love. Anything you want to like rip your face off, that's where to stick it in that.
It's definitely something that I need to pick up. I was telling you earlier that I've been hem and hawing about it, but it's definitely a compressor that everyone always tells me, like, it's the thing that can do everything.
Yeah.
So I mean, do you guys literally use it on everything? Do you find
Yeah,
it-
pretty,
You can.
pretty much.
You
Yeah.
can, yeah. I mean, that's what everyone's like. If you can have one compressor, get the distressor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it will do everything from a really aggressive to a not smooth opto.
Yep.
You know, and another 9098, another one of the Amec 220s, which we had a pair of those, and that's another great pre. You know.
The Focusrite.
I'm sorry,
No,
Focusrite.
no, it's all good. Yeah. No, I've never used the channel, but I'm sure it's the same. I've used the like the 428.
Yeah.
And yeah, great pre's. Like that's a clean pre that I actually really love.
Yeah.
Because it does have a transformer on the input, which I know we're probably all fans of transformers.
We are.
But it's like just enough, but also really clean.
Yeah.
So I love it on acoustic sources.
Yes.
It's really good on that.
Yeah, I love it. I pretty much like it on just about anything you put into it.
Yeah, I mean, once again, you
Yeah.
could use it on anything.
Yeah. And then a real Yuri 1176 silver face.
An old one. What's the Rev?
The silver faces, I think, what were they? G or H or something?
I think
like
H.
That?
H
yeah,
sounds right.
I think H.
Yeah. That's my right now, because I don't have a distressor. 1176 is my can do anything box.
Yeah.
And that is
Mostly.
probably that is
I get it.
the compressor you can stick on anything and it sounds
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the sound of rock and roll.
Yep.
It is the sound of all your favorite records. Chances are they were using those on them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely need more.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you only have one.
Well, I have one and I have this
Right,
pair here,
yeah.
and I have the clone up there, and I have the LA4s over there.
So yeah. Okay.
And,
I
you know,
get
so
it. I
it's,
get it.
It's
You
a
got
flavor. It's a flavor. Yes. But I keep looking for more. You know, it's just
Right.
it's a matter of when the right deal comes up. You know.
Mm-hmm. No, totally. Yeah. There's so many different versions of it now, and like I don't have a Yuri or a universal one. I've got a purple. The purple. That 77.
still great.
Yeah.
77.
Once again, to talk about Jim, just because first time I met him, he had like 3 of them, so
Yeah.
I got really used to him. And I knew right then and there, I was like, when I can afford one, that's the first box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hell yeah. Let's take a look down in the live room, because you have like more amps than anyone that I know. So let's take a look at the live room.
Cool.
All right. So this is a guitar player's kind of paradise or heaven in here. And I'm sure you can probably take a glimpse at this. What is going on here?
This is a Yamaha RA100. And it's kind of like a Leslie on hyper steroids. This is what David Gilmour was using on all that cool stuff like Shine On You Crazy Diamond.
Really?
Yeah, it gives you that sound, and you can adjust the speed. So it's got some stationary speakers down there, and it's got some rotary speakers up there. So in order to mic this thing up, you have to take like an XY here.
Right.
You know, and get it a little bit away so you can capture some of the bass.
Do these rotating speakers, are they kind of functioning just as the tweeters?
Yeah.
Then at that point?
Yep.
Cool.
And they're totally independent of each other. So if you look at them, they're not actually spinning like this. They're just totally randomly.
Oh, okay.
You know.
This is whatever you kind of get it on at the
Yep.
day is
Yep.
what it is?
Yeah, there's a speed control adjustment, so you can actually throttle it down and make it match the tempo of the song, which is
crazy.
really cool.
Crazy.
But all those really cool Pink Floyd tones, even some of that stuff you hear on the wall.
Yeah.
You know, where he's got that. How's he getting that liquidy lead guitar sound? This is how they were doing it.
I've never seen one of these.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And of course, we've got a basic Leslie.
Yeah, 120. This one I customized and had the guts changed around so I could run it with any guitar head. So I could
Okay.
like plug it into the AC. I had a special cable made that fans out to power, speed
Right.
control, and speaker in.
Yeah.
So I can plug in to say I wanted an AC30 with a Leslie speaker, or a
Right.
Fender with a Leslie speaker, or a Marshall with a Leslie speaker. I could just
Because it typically has those goofy 4-pin or 5-pin things.
yeah.
you know,
It still has a
things.
6-pin
Okay.
cable on it. That's how you control the power. That's
Right.
where power for the motor,
Right.
speaker signal, and speed control
Speed,
comes in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, this is just a cool thing. I had been looking for one forever and finally found one.
Oh, so this is a new
Yeah, it's
acquisition.
actually like last week or the week before last.
Oh, wow, yeah. So both times I've come here, you've gotten a new Leslie, which we'll get to the Leslie that he got 7 years ago.
Oh yeah.
But, okay, well, interesting. So you're just always finding Leslies then.
Yeah,
huh?
I love the Leslies.
Hell yeah. Let's move this way.
Cool.
You've got a tree of guitars, which is cool, but what more interestingly enough is you've got a wall of amps that all look, I don't even know where to start, honestly.
Well, they're all awesome. We can
Yeah.
start down here at the bottom. The Fender DeVille.
Classic.
You know, classic Fender sound. I use this on, country and indie and rock stuff. It's like it got a really great clean, really cool dirty. This one's been a little hot rodded by Lowell Hunt over at Hunt Amplifications.
So even dirtier.
No, actually, he did a few things to it, and I think he did something with the preamp tubes. He did something, and it sounds great. I don't hardly ever use it for dirt.
Right.
You know,
Well, I mean, come on.
yeah. So it's got a really warm tone on it, and most of the gain is totally usable all the way up.
Oh, interesting.
So he did something with the preamp in it. It
yeah.
sounds great. This is a Magnatone M15. This actually belongs to a buddy of mine from high school, who it's been here for years and years and years, and I love it and I use it all the time. And it's got a stereo pitch shifting vibrato on it. So instead of just being like a regular tremolo that goes whum whum whum,
Right.
it actually goes out of the speakers like left and right, left and right.
So
And
kind of like the jazz chorus?
like the jazz chorus, but a little bit different. This
Yeah.
is it's because the pitch shifts
Right,
as it
okay.
goes up and down, so it kind of Dopplers. It's got the most unique, cool sound ever. It's like from the '60s. It's made of Bakelite, and my buddy that owns it, he had a baby and lost his man cave, and he's like, "Will you hold on to this for me?" And now I love it, and I kind of hope he never asks for it back because
Right.
I use it on everything. Like if I want that bridge to have this really cool tension,
Yeah.
this thing does it. It creates like, you're like, something's weird there. But I love it.
Yeah, it's one of those cool, just like random.
So
like,
Pete Sims, don't ask for it back because I'll cry.
I love that stuff is really cool. Like the things in the studio that you're just like, the thing that nothing else can quite replicate.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'm into all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know. And then up here I have a Mesa Road King, which is like their flagship amplifier.
It's classic loud amp.
Yeah, it's 4 channels. It's got tube switching, so you can choose whether you want EL34s or 6L6s in whatever
Right.
combination on whatever channel you
Right.
want.
I mean,
So-
those things would have like 12 tubes in them or something crazy.
Oh
like that.
yeah, even more. I think there's like there might even I've never counted them. But there's 4 6L6s, 4 EL84.
For every channel,
yeah. Yeah. Well, you can mix and match. You could
Yeah,
you could say I want channel 1 to be 2 6L6s. I want channel 2 to be 2 EL34s. I want this one to be 4, and I want this one to be all the tubes in the whole amp. And as you change channels, it just changes tubes and everything. So it's essentially like having 12 different amps.
Mesas have always been a bit intimidating for me for that reason.
Yeah,
You know, it's
and
always
quite
been-
honestly, the Mesas are the funny amp because I have a bunch of them, but that's the amp we probably use the least here in the whole studio.
Yeah, well, because I'm a fan of like less knobs.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
because it's more fun in a way. You know, because it's more creative, I think.
And
Sometimes.
see, we have some more Mesas, a Nomad 55, which is
Mm-hmm.
a good standard rock thing. The orange, this is a OD8 or OD80 Orange Overdrive.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really cool sounding amp. Got a great clean sound. Got a cool funk sound.
Oh, interesting.
It's got an overdrive sound, not really a distortion,
Right.
as much as it's just kind of a growly overdrive. Kind
Yeah.
of sounds like a plexi more than it does,
But it probably takes gain stage as well.
Oh,
you
it does.
probably
And it takes pedals really good.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Absolutely.
that's the beauty of like Orange and Marshall for me is they, on their own they're great.
Yeah.
But pedals
Yes.
is where like they sing.
Yep. Yeah, and I like to run this one with the Fender reverb tank.
Oh,
In the front of it, and I could preamp the front of it with that Fender reverb tank and gain it up a little bit and give it that cool spanky reverb.
Hell yeah.
And then some power conditioning and tuning stuff.
Right.
A Vox AC30, you can't go wrong with the AC30. And I like having the head designed because I can plug into whatever kind of speaker
Into whatever
cab
cab
I
you want.
And an EVH 5150. This is the first model, and it sounds really great. It's a good metal amp. Good
High gain,
high gain.
yeah.
High gain
Yeah.
thing. It's got a nice clean channel too, and a nice mid channel, but the high gain thing is where it shines. And this one I like. We've had the Stealth in here before too. I like this one a little better. It's got more usable gain. Where the
Interesting.
Stealth, when you hit a certain point, it's like okay, well everything after that's crap.
Is that a later version of
Yeah.
this? Okay.
Yeah.
This is a higher gain version, I think. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
The more
it is-
modern
yeah.
one?
Even the
Interesting.
green channel was like the blue channel on this one. It's like it's so unusable almost.
But
Interesting.
the Roland Jazz Chorus.
These have made quite a comeback.
Yeah, the pristine clean. It's that sound. If you
Yeah.
if you like that Metallica clean guitar sound, that's what it is. If you want pristine, shiny, shimmery clean with a beautiful chorus that kind of washes out in the mix real nice, that's the thing.
No, yeah. That's and the bands that I see using them are cleaner toned.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just interesting that I've seen them come back quite a bit.
Yeah.
So what are these?
The Bolin boxes are my brother, who's a guitar aficionado. He doesn't play, but he loves guitar and stuff like that. He was asking me, "What do you want in an amp?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, if I could have the ultimate amplifier, what would it be? It would be I would have the clean portion of an AC30 and the dirty portion of a plexi in one amp that I could link together and run both channels simultaneously."
So that's what's going on.
And that's what that is. So I can bump up the jangly clean, and then I can just blend in the dirty channel as much as I want. They run together. So I can have this shiny, shimmery thing with a touch of dirt, or I can
Right.
have a dirty thing with a touch of clean, or whatever I want.
Where does it sit? Because for me,
They're EL84s, so it's closer to an AC30 when it sits in the thing. It's kind of spongy, like a good
a lot of mids.
a lot of mids, but it sounds like it's very Joe Walsh sounding.
Oh, it's a lot of mids. Yeah.
Rocky Mountain Way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I've always wondered because you've had to have told me you've had those before, and you probably told me about it then. But I always think it's funny that you've got an amp named after yourself.
Hey, well, my brother's a Bolenbach too, so
Well,
he
then
made
there
the
you go.
Bolen boxes. But here's something you don't see every day.
Yes. What is this?
This is a gas-powered fuzz box. It's mercury vapor inside the light bulb. So it's got two jacks right here, and it's got and this light bulb interrupts the positive leg of the speaker line. So if I take a Crown like 2,000 watt or 2,400 watt power amp and bridge it from mono, and I plug the guitar straight into the power amp or into some sort of preamp that has a little volume control into the power amp, speaker out into this, output of this into the power break so I can turn it down so I don't send 2,400 watts to my guitar cabinet.
I got you.
And there's no sound comes through it at all until you hit a sound. And because the copper on the speaker line gets interrupted by the gas, and then back to copper again, it turns to this beautiful fuzz that's like the most broken, cool, like, you know, I want it to sound like, you know, it's electrical and it's fizzing out and it's, you know, it's,
that reminds me of Sylvia Massey.
that's where I got it from.
Yeah,
she had done that, and so that's where I took the idea from.
Hell yeah.
So it really cool, and it actually works great. But it did take 2,400 watts to light the thing.
Wow.
You know, I was like, oh, I got a couple, a little Crown power amp, nothing would light it up. I'm like, so I borrowed from Nick from Deaf Finger. I said, hey, you got a big power amp I could borrow for a session? He's like, sure. He hooks me up with this Crown 2,400 watt macro tech. That lit it up just fine. Bridged it from on, it would light it up off one side.
Right.
But and I used it on a few records. It really sounds, it's got a unique thing that sounds really cool.
I'd love to hear that sometime.
We'll have to. There's a couple YouTube videos of us doing stuff with it online.
I'll definitely have to peep those.
And then over here, there's an Echoplex up here, an EP3, to go with the solid state version of the one that's in the control room.
Another one.
This is a 1950s Fender Champ. Really sounds great. That's like my slide guitar go-to.
Like the blues.
Harmonica, yes, anything bluesy, but slide guitar sounds awesome through it. Harmonica, bomb through it. This is my little, it's the AC/DC box set, vinyl box set, but it's got a Zinke amp on top of it that sounds great. It's like the little cigarette amp.
Oh, really?
So if you wanted I want a lo-fi intro that sounds like it's playing out of an 8 AM radio, plug into that, put a 57 on it, and it's lo-fi as you can get.
AC/DC looking out.
Right, and it has that sort of tone coming out of it right off the bat, like if you're listening to AC/DC on an AM radio. So it's kind of cool. Then we got a couple of Marshall Silver Jubilees, the original ones.
Nice.
We love those. That's like the go-to amp. It makes every record.
Which I was just saying, which I know is the John Frusciante Marshall.
Yeah.
So I'm very familiar because that's why I picked up guitar was John Frusciante.
Oh, right on.
That's awesome.
And just I loved his tone. It was just I can't even explain it really.
Yeah, and Steve Morse plays through him. Joe Bonamassa.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I guess he's a big Marshall player too.
And I got a bunch of different kind of cabinets. You know, this one has G1265 Celestions in it for that hard rock sound.
Right.
This one has greenbacks in it, which break up at a lower volume. The Mesas have vintage 30s in them, which is like a great standard for everything.
Interesting.
So I can mix and match the speakers to give a different sort of, if you want it brighter or warmer or fuzzier or more, bitier or whatever, I can find the right speaker to go with whatever amp.
What do you have in the Bolin boxes?
Those are Eminences. My brother, when he made the thing, so he put some speakers in them. I don't like the Eminences, but I love my brother. Thanks for that. But
Asking the dangerous questions.
Yeah. Thanks for the cabinets, Tom. But the Eminences, he knows now though.
Yeah. Cool.
It was a financial thing. Well, what do those G1265s cost? Well, they're $250 a piece. Oh, well, you mean it couldn't cost me $1,000 to build you a cabinet for just the speakers? I said, yeah.
Eminence it is.
Yeah, because he's like, you want 65s in there, you got to buy them yourself. So they're on the list.
Nice. And then Colby was saying his favorite is the 800.
Yeah.
It is. It's got this awesome slop, just like Mastodon, just this really heavy and grungy thing. It's just,
It's definitely synonymous, I think, with just hard rock to just ridiculous metal.
Yeah.
It's the amp that does all of that. I mean, I always just jokingly call the 800s the Slayer amp.
Oh, I gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, same thing, I definitely, that's what they're for.
Right.
Hard rock, loud,
Yeah.
Great amps.
And then more Jubilees. And this is a 1974 JMP 59. And that is like the sound of everything from Jimi Hendrix to AC/DC to, that's like that amp has the more harmonic content than anything. It's like you hit a chord and it just chimes and changes and feeds back and it just does this thing that
Yeah, no, that's definitely like I think the Dream Marshall.
Yes.
It's the one that takes. Marshall's in my opinion, Marshall's a pretty like straightforward amp, but the JMP opens up another door.
Yeah.
And you're just like, there's so many things you can do with that.
Absolutely.
Amp. Yeah.
And I love it on everything from like indie rock. We're gonna, even if I want it only slightly broken, I can turn it way down.
Yeah,
and it's got this great.
It's crazy versatile.
Yeah.
Yeah, great amps. Let's head over to this side of the room. All right, over here we'll continue our amp discussions. We got some more stuff. We got some bass amps.
Yeah.
Ampeg. Is this?
That's an SB12, 1966 Ampeg SB12 up there.
Is that that's not the
Yeah,
one
it is the flip top. Yes,
Oh,
it is.
cool.
So the top, it flips out. This one actually I got from my girlfriend's mom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she she played bass with my girlfriend's dad in a band, and she's like, I have this bass and amp in my closet. You wanna see it?
Yeah.
Well, the bass she had that went with it was a 1966 Epiphone EB232 Rivoli, and she's like, you think you could sell this? So I said sure. I sold it to Joe Bonamassa.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
He jumped right on it.
Because that's old Epiphone.
Yeah. He has Nerdville.
Yeah.
His guitar collection. But that sounds great. And then I got the standard SVT.
Right.
Classic. That's the sound of rock and roll.
Big loud rock bass.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it is a recording monster. I love it. Mm-hmm. And a Mesa dual rectifier stack there.
More Mesa.
More Mesa stuff. More Marshall stuff. There's Marshalls deep back there. More Marshalls back.
Another
behind.
magnetone.
Another magnetone back there. That's a 112. So it's like it does the pitch shifting tremolo the other one does, but it's not stereo.
Yeah.
And there's something about doing it in stereo that does the thing.
Right. I mean, that's just one more added thing that's like a uniqueness you just can't replicate with anything else.
And these are the first 2 Bolin boxes we made.
Tone.
And they're basically like an AC30 clean channel with an extra gain stage.
Right.
And then this is the Leslie 950. This is
And of course, this is what you got the day I met you.
Yeah, and it's got a thing to it.
Yeah. Can we kill some lights to kind of show this?
Oh yeah, just kill. There's a switch right on that light there.
Yeah. Where did you find this? Because these are pretty rare.
This I found a friend of mine in the Earps. He was a bass player from the Earps. We went to his house after a show. He goes, oh, check out my Leslie. He'd been recording over here. We've been using some Leslies. And I saw this thing. I'm like, that is awesome. I'm like, you ever want to sell that? Let me know. He's like, no, I'll never sell that thing.
Sure enough.
Yeah, about 6 months later, he's like, Fender laid me off. You want to buy that thing? And I'm like, yeah. So here it is.
Hell yeah.
And it's really cool. It's got a couple speeds and stuff, slow speed and fast speed, and it does like a really cool chorus. It's 4 Leslies in one, so it's like it's not focused at all. It's like liquid.
They look kind of random. I don't know if that's
and they are.
just- yeah.
There's 4 separate motors running 4 separate pulleys running.
Wow. Yeah.
There's some videos online of us singing through it and stuff like that.
Hell yeah.
There's
And lead
on a
guitar
Byron
leads
Carrick
and
song,
stuff.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
it sounds great.
Well, I suppose we should talk about drums. We did all that talking about amps.
I love drums, my specialty.
So let's talk about some drums. What is the kit?
The kit is a Pearl Masters maple, and I have it's a 22 by 18 kick. I have an 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16 toms.
Okay, so more than what is shown.
Oh yeah, there's some on the floor over there. There's actually one in the drum stand over there.
Okay, cool.
So I custom make whatever, if the drummer's left-handed, I'll flip it around left-handed if he wants to be. I'm 10, 12, 14, I'm 12, 13, 16, I'm, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, or like this one, 12, 14, 16, that's my favorite.
So is this the kit that you pretty much always use, or?
It's a kit that I would prefer to use. I mean, if the drummer's got some really great kit, like if Dan Tomlinson wants to bring over his DW that he just paid $20,000 for, by all means, we'll take it down. But but generally, this one's tuned for the studio. I mean, if I'm doing jazz, obviously I'll have my guy come in and tune it for jazz. If we're doing rock, I'll have him come in and tune it for rock.
Sure.
But I keep the heads pretty new all the time, and we keep it maintained. There's no squeaks or rattles, and it rocks. And it's pretty much the drum sound. I leave the drum stuff up. So in order to cut drums, we're a tune and a few buttons away from tracking drums at any given time.
Yeah, well, that's definitely convenient, especially when you got so many drums.
Yeah.
And so many cymbals. And I see you like to. Well, you got the basics covered.
Yeah.
Spot mic. You got a ride mic.
Yeah, I do have a ride mic.
Interesting. Hi-hat mic, cool. SM81s.
SM81's on the hat and ride. KM184's on the overheads.
Nice.
57's on the toms, except on the floor tom, I actually combine a 57 with a 7B for the floor tom because that gives me more low-end oomph.
A little more oomph
Yeah.
there. You don't find that these overload too easily?
No, I'm not having a problem with them at all.
Interesting. Because these are the ones that don't have the pads, right?
Right.
Yeah. I've always had a problem with the but hey, I guess.
Yeah, I've been having a problem. I'm actually running those when I track the cymbals. I run them into a Vintech 1272.
Oh, that's a pretty.
And then I run that into the SSL 4000 channel, so I can shelf off the stuff I don't want out of them.
Right, and you got the very clean EQ.
Yes, and compressor. Yeah.
Awesome. So do you also do like some room mics and stuff?
I do a combination of room mics usually. It depends on the project, but I love the room mic sound. So I'll stick a Neumann out here on the floor, about 3 or 4 feet out. 3 feet out from the kick, something like that.
Sure.
Then I'll stick. I have a pair of these Rhodes right here that I'll stick, out far stereo up high, and then I have a 414 that I put over the drummer's head,
Oh, yeah,
and I'll
yeah.
spend a little time at the beginning of the drum session, about 10
Right.
minutes with the phase alignment
Right.
meter, and
As
I'll
you
make
have to.
and I'll make sure everything lines up really good phase-wise. You know, it's a matter of, oh, move that one in 2 inches and this one out 2 inches and this one up, down, you know, until I get everything lined up right. And once they're lined up, we're good to go.
Cool, cool. You've got, let's check out some of these snare drums you've got over here.
Oh, yeah.
So what's currently on the kit?
That is a, what is that, Colby? It's the Mapex.
It's a Mapex Wraith. It's basically an artist series snare from this really crazy metal band, but you can tune it to a really clean, low, dry sound. It just goes pah, and makes a really long snare note, or no note, the absence of a note.
Because you were telling me it's got how many ports?
9.
9.
It's wicked loud, and we've been experimenting. If you mic it too close, it gets real funny sounding just because of how loud it is. The proximity, it just multiplies. The closer you get it, so much more. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So that's why it's a few fingers high.
Right. Well, yeah, I do like, that's one of the things that I think stuck with the Andy Siegel teachings for me was, you know, air, having the mic at more of a distance. I always kind of like that too.
Andy's the bomb.
Yeah, Andy is the bomb. What else we got for snares?
Well, I got a
here?
little Tama piccolo up here for like the little hip hop kind of sound. A Pearl Chad Smith, which is a pretty standard, you know, bang for the buck snare.
Right.
Tama Star Classic Maple, which actually, you know, for like if you want that standard, you know, rock wood snare, it's got a great crack and you know, not really anything character about it, just a great snare. Then I have some Pearl free floating brass here. That this is character for days. This has
Right.
that kank.
Yeah. I bet that's loud.
Oh, and it's awesome. This is probably my favorite go-to for heavier stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's got a thing. And then this is a copper one here, Pearl free floating copper 5.5. That sounds really great. I love that on anything I want a good metal sound to, and the copper just has a really warm,
Right.
you know, cool spanky note to it.
Right.
Then a DW nickel over steel, or steel over nickel, chrome over nickel, something like that.
I thought about picking one of those up.
Yeah,
not a while ago,
and that's
yeah.
actually, I wasn't even looking for a snare, and I went over to Guitar Center. And
Yeah.
I hardly ever buy anything from Snare-wise at Guitar Center.
Right.
Or anything, but I went over there and was tapping around. A friend of mine was looking at drums, and I came across this one, and it just cracked, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. So I just bought it.
It's a pretty controlled
Yeah,
for how big it is.
yeah,
You know?
absolutely. It's deep.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's got a wide range of usable.
That's what I like because it was kind of I don't want to say it was dry, but it had a drier character. Like it wasn't what I expected from a 14 by 8.
By 8, yeah.
Yeah. So I almost picked one.
Yeah, and bang for the buck, that's a pretty good snare. You know?
It's not that bad on price.
And this is a 70s Gretsch, right here, maple, 14 by 8. It sounds fantastic. It's like one of those ones I use on I want something spongy that splat.
Right.
Splat, you know, and we'll tune it a little low sometimes.
Yeah,
it's great
yeah.
with brushes too.
Yeah.
You know, really cool. Then just a couple other little drums down there. There's an acrylic pork pie down there. There's another one of the 13-inch tom from the kit. You know, and we have a couple more laying around, but this is the main ones that get used.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. I kind of wanted to quickly go over this. This is literally the front room of your house. You walk in and you're immediately greeted by, as Colby joked, the Tangent showroom. And once again, like one of the rarest consoles. They're American made, yeah?
Yeah, right here in Phoenix, Arizona, as a matter of fact.
Oh, well then
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it's just funny because you really are probably collecting like all of them that are left.
Yeah, I buy all the spare parts I can find. I have the 24-channel version, the 32 that's out in the studio.
Yeah.
There's a 16 sitting right there.
And they're massive boards, honestly. Like
Oh, yeah.
24 and 32, like they're huge.
Yeah, and they sound great. But this is the B room. This is where we keep the Hammond organ
Nice.
and the Leslie right there. You know,
Another
so
Leslie.
and this room is all wired to the other studio too.
Oh, really?
So I can, if I wanted to track the organ,
Uh-huh.
there's a headphone jack, mic, and XLR on the wall right here
Send
that
it
goes
into
out
the
to the
house.
studio.
Yeah.
So and there's a camera right there so they can see me. You know, so we can track organ. Just plug the headphones in, mic up the Leslie, and start tracking. But out here I have a Final Cut rig. We do video editing in here, little video stuff. And a Pro Tools HD3 version 10 system out here, hooked to this Tangent console. So I have 24 channels of I/O here. So I can bring the 2-inch tape machine over here.
Oh,
And if
cool.
I want to do like a clasp thing where I lock the 2-inch tape machine to
Right.
Pro Tools, we can do that. Or if I want to transfer, we do a lot of tape transfers in here. I have, cassette, mini disc, DA88, DAT, ADAT, 2-inch 24 track, half-inch 4 track, 1-inch 8 track, all that stuff. We could do tape transfers in here into Pro Tools to and from.
Nice. You were telling me, I want to check out this this 1-inch 8-track. You were telling me a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit about it, and it's a unique machine.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can see it
If you
behind.
can take a look at this.
If you can see it behind the other tangent that's
The other
standing on its side.
tangent.
This is a 3M 1-inch 8-track machine. You can probably get around to this side. You can see it better. This is the very machine that they recorded "Kick Out the Jams" on, MC5. Not the same model. This is actually the machine from Wally Hyder's mobile truck. Was in United Recording number 804, so it's from Bill Putnam's personal studio. This is the machine I used to make my living on back before the ADAT revolution came on. I had 8 tracks of 1-inch tape, and I would record, drums to 2 tracks, then I would overdub the bass, then I would overdub rhythm guitar 1, rhythm guitar 2, vocals, then lead guitar, and then okay, we got a percussion idea. Well, you'd have to share the vocal track.
Yeah.
So we'd be riding the faders. Okay, it's the shaker now. Okay, here comes the lead. Pull it back down. Put some delay on it. Okay, the lead's done. Turn the delay off and put the shaker level back up again. And that's how I learned to cut my teeth, and that's why I have that philosophy that I have now about getting it right on the way in.
Right, because you had to.
There was no
had to.
there was no going back, and I carried that over till now. That's kind of my whole philosophy on recording is you get it right on the way in, and you don't have to work really hard at mix time. So back then, since you're mixing the drums to 2 channels, you would get, if you wanted snare reverb back in the day, you would print the snare reverb to those 2 channels because you couldn't isolate the snare ever again.
Right.
If you wanted, a thumpy kick drum, you better make it thump on the way in because now it's the drum
Now
track.
it's the drum mix.
Yeah. So I carried that philosophy over with me into today.
Well, Mike, Colby, thanks for having us over.
Well, thanks for
Absolutely.
coming, man.
It's been
That was
great
great.
checking the place out again.
Anytime.
Awesome.
Anytime.
Thanks for watching.